DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. PK, we were talking earlier this week about Kyle Whittingham because he flipped the West High quarterback. Lopati was supposed to go to Illinois, had a verbal commit to Illinois. But now he's committed to Michigan. What kind of impact is Kyle Whittingham going to have on recruiting here in Utah? And I was saying, well, everybody is recruiting here in Utah, and we're seeing kids scatter everywhere. And Utah and BYU are they're definitely holding some kids here, but we just went down the list, and it's Oregon, Washington, USC, UCLA, Alabama, Ohio State, Oklahoma, everybody recruits in Utah, and everybody's pulling players out of here. So if Kyle takes a couple of players, now as soon as I said that, somebody sent me an Instagram post. There is a sophomore at Crimson Cliffs in St. George, Major Stokes, who is a major talent. Now, he's only a sophomore. He's class of 28. And he just committed to Michigan. Now, there's 2 years he could flip, who knows and all that. But and they presented it without comment. It was just kind of like, don't underestimate Kyle. He's going to be here in Utah. I found 2028 pretty interesting. That's 2 years, and I have no idea if this kid's a Mission kid or not, but a redshirt, a Mission kid, is like we talked about Kyle coaching for 5 years. It could be 5 years before this kid is playing, and do you make an impact right away at Michigan? So I guess the point is he's not going away, but I looked at the recruiting in this next recruiting class, and there are 5 kids committed to 5 different schools, and only one of them is in the state of Utah. And again, it's like West Virginia is here taking a kid. Oklahoma is here taking a kid. The whole country's recruiting here. I have a little problem wringing my hands over what Kyle's going to do, even though it's clear he is going to be active here. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
One point of order, Stokes has not committed to Michigan. He calls him one of his top options, though.
Oh, not officially a commit?
No, not according to what I just saw.
Okay.
Yeah. Sophomores commit is take that with a grain of salt anyway.
Yep.
Sure. DJ, I get your point. What's a few here? What's a few there? Go ask Arizona State and the U of A. What's a few here? What's a few there? Every year.
Well, I would say different than that. I would say that's an argument to a point, and you're right about that. I would just say it's going to be a few here and a few there, whether Kyle's at Michigan or not. I mean, Kyle at Michigan doesn't. There's a kid at Stansbury, Bronx Baker, is taking off for West Virginia. He's going across the country to play in the Big 12.
Sure.
At least when you go to Michigan, I mean, it is Michigan. They did just win a national title.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter where you go. It's not like, oh, okay, we feel better because he went to Michigan. That doesn't matter. He can go to Chico State, and if he blows up as an NFL talent, that's a loss. It is something that the Michigan issue is. It's not just, well, it's a couple to Michigan. No, it's a cumulative effect. Here are more top flight players leaving, and you talk about things being copycatish, so to speak. Well, sure, if they can have success here and there, well, and we always hear for women, oh, I watched the WNBA and that inspired me as a little girl because if Marsha or Monica or Mary Lou can do it, I can do it too. Yep. Well, how many kids have gone to Michigan from Utah and flourished? Well, we know the Gentry kid he's from Colorado, but in LDS kids, it's sort of the same. And then he comes back went to BYU, didn't really come back, but so he's been able to play at BYU and he was at Michigan. Well, if there's a bunch of kids over time, that opens up eyes for Utah kids thinking, yeah, I could go to Michigan because player XYZ went from Utah in there, so they can do it. I can do it. I think it's something that to be concerned about. And, well, in 5 years, Kyle won't be there. Yeah, but Gennaro Guilford, Lewis Powell, Jason Beck, Jay Hill, those guys might be there. Ty Detmer's nephew, who was at Utah as the QB coach, is there. And so they have familiar ties to this place. You got to watch it, man, because what seems to be just a little now, and I could speak to this and I've spoken to guys from the U of A and from ASU, and it got to the point where they basically don't even recruit them because they know they're not going to get them. And we'll see if these new guys here, one Dillingham's going into his 4th year, and the other guy from San Jose. What's his name? He's at the U of A. He's going into his third year now. And we'll see if that can change. Yeah, if that makes a difference, and can they keep guys home? Because then, too, the flip side is if you keep guys home and they have tons of success, we saw it. That U of U put up billboards throughout the valley saying "hometown hero," and they would have Zane Beatles, his pitcher there. And where did he go? Cottonwood or Hillcrest? And they'd have that up there. And so you see that, and you see these teams having success, and then they could say, hey, look, man, you stay here. Well, one time you were gone. I had an intense discussion about this with Trevor Riley when he was sitting in for you. This is several years back. And I think one of the BYU coaches, was it Cahoon at the time? I think he was making that argument when he was receivers coach. You stay here and you have a network for the next 40 years. You really are a hometown hero. If you play in the pros, great, because then you'll make the big money, and you don't have to necessarily worry about it. But the Kyle Van Noys are few and far between of guys who play and they're in the NFL for 12, 13 years. The average lifespan is just a few years, and they don't even get the pension. But if you stay here and then you stay in the community and you're from here, then you have all these contacts and everything. And so that puts it into people's minds. Yeah, I can do that. So I take nothing for granted and say, well, it's just a couple of kids here and there, because here and there over 25 years, I can speak to the two Arizona schools, and so much of the homegrown talent has left.
I can say the same thing about San Diego State, so I don't underestimate kids leaving. My point is kids were already leaving when Kyle Whittingham was still at the U. You can go back and look in Iowa and Baylor and
right,
Cal,
but they weren't going to Michigan.
Right, but there are very few kids who can go to top 5 schools, and you lose a handful of kids to the top 5. But when you're losing against school 25, 35, and 45 routinely, which is already happening, that goes to the point about what's happened to ASU and San Diego State and Arizona. You can't even win against the 25th, 35th. I get Michigan's got built-in advantages, and now for however many years they got Kyle. But you're losing kids to Baylor. You're losing kids to Cal. It's a much bigger problem than a top 5 school with a coach with a local tie. The problem, which is well established over the last 5 years or whatever, I don't know, maybe it's more than that, but just going back a few years, it's already established with Kyle here.
I disagree with that, because I could find somebody to replace the kid at Cal, but you've just told me this kid's a top 5 talent, and replacing top 5 talent is way harder than replacing top 50 talent.
But they've been losing top 5 talent for 20 years. I mean, Haloti Ngata at Highland was going to Oregon, and then he's going to the NFL, and then he's going to the Hall of Fame.
And now it's going to be even more. So that exasperates the problem. It doesn't diminish it or keep it the same. Now I got to worry about Michigan, where before I didn't. I've always had to worry about Stanford and Oregon. Now I got to worry about Michigan. So I'm compounding my problem. But it's not staying the same. It's getting worse, potentially.
They'd already lost Lopati. He was going to Illinois. They didn't take him. Michigan didn't take him away from Utah and BYU. They took him away from Illinois. Illinois had already taken him away from Utah.
Yeah, but only one quarterback can play. So it's the other stuff. Quarterbacks, fine. And who knows? Quarterbacks are the most overrated, underrated position in sports when it comes to recruits, and even at the NFL level. We've seen that a million times.
And if he struggles with the transition to college quarterback, he's got the athletic ability and the size to play another position. And Kyle, we know Kyle well enough to know he looks at him and thinks he could be a really good quarterback, and I know he could be a really good safety too, and he probably could.
Then I'm even more worried about it. Yeah, exactly.